Gonna go over my tie-in method real quick. I use a floating ring for most of my canopy ties, which is super easy setup and retrieval. All you gotta do is put both lines through the ring, tie an alpine butterfly on your retrieval side, and back it up with the carabiner, and just send it up. This makes retrieval super smooth and easy. Only downside is if you have a branch between both your lines that's up close to your tie-in point, the ring can fling off the rope sometimes and go flying off, and it'll be hard to find. Aside from that, it's a pretty great setup. All right, I'm about to cut off this large dead branch off this white oak tree. One thing I gotta be careful about, since it's so long and so grown out here, is the branch splitting after I cut it. So what I'll do is I'll cut an undercut and probably do a couple relief cuts on the side before making the final cut to keep it from splitting on me. Chainsaw will start. That wasn't what I said I was going to do, but since the branch was thick enough I could plunge through it, I just went ahead and did that instead. So now I'm making my final cut off this dead branch. I want to make sure I cut outside of this swell here where the branch collar is, and really try to avoid cutting into any of that live growth. So I'll probably err a little bit, like a ½ inch outside of that. Just try to make sure, make a nice clean healthy cut. There was still a little bit of live tissue on this side, but I stand by that cut. So here's a better example of the live growth and the growing around the dead branch. So I'll want to cut just outside of that and avoid damaging any of this tissue, which is trying to grow around the decay and seal itself off. It's always good to check both sides, because sometimes this live tissue will be longer growing up more on one side, and really want to avoid cutting into that if we can. Cutting it a little close there. This tree's got quite a bit of large deadwood in it, more than I was expecting to see, including this entire stem right here. Has hypoxylin canker on it, I think. To try to avoid damaging some of these small trees, I'm just gonna slice cut this as much as I can. hung up on that hickory a little bit, but hickories are pretty strong. Probably just cut up a lot of that for firewood. Okay. That way you don't have to carry much of it. So here's my final cut on that branch. Like I said, I don't see any benefit of cutting it all the way down to the trunk, just because it's never going to heal over. I think this cut will slow the rate of decay that actually reaches into the trunk by cutting it up here. Marcus is getting his chaps on. He's going to cut up a lot of these bigger pieces for firewood. So I did a snap cut on this one up here so that the branch would fall a little more flat and avoid one end hitting the ground and the other side kind of bashing into the trunk. That way we can avoid damaging the trunk as much as I can. The homeowner wants to preserve this tree as much as he can. That's the whole point of pruning it. Because honestly, it's kind of off to itself out here in the woods. It's not really threatening anything, but he really likes these mature white oaks. There's one over there and another one further out that we're pruning. And he just wants to make the area around him safe and try to improve the health as much as we can. Which is why we're only cutting out deadwood, nothing else. No live growth is going to be cut off this tree, at least not intentionally. You can see the reaction wood around this wound. Kind of has a funkier shape instead of just growing a nice collar. Gotta peel all the way around to make sure I don't cut into any of that live tissue. Sometimes you can kind of pull the dead bark off and get a better idea of where that live tissue grows around the dead branch. If you look, I just barely nicked the live tissue right there, just barely. Not gonna lose any sleep over that though. I'm snap cutting this piece because I don't really want it to just kind of bang around on the way down. I'll just do a nice little easy snap cut. I can grab it, pull it off, and toss it away from the trunk. Avoid hitting any of those other branches on the way down. Kind of broke off funny though. Actually, I think I'm just gonna leave that. Better to cut too far out than too far in. A lot of deadwood in this tree. It's more work than I thought it was gonna be. That's okay. For my ascension system, I just got the Haas knee ascender, climbing technology foot ascender, my rope wrench and hitch climber setup with the Mishikan Prusik, and it works great. Really smooth on the KM3 Max. Alright, here's my floating ring setup, my canopy tie. Just real simple, not jams in the ring on this side and my climbing line on this side. When I go to pull it out, it just over the limb and through the ring. Real simple, real effective. Only downside is if I had my retrieval line like over on this side and my climbing line was over on this side where it's close to the tie-in point. When I pull my rope out, the ring won't come off of here until the rope's almost all the way out, and then it tends to fling off the end of the rope and fly off into the leaf somewhere. So as long as you plan it out intelligently, you can avoid that. But I've definitely lost a couple of rings. I've learned that lesson. You can use a soft 8 and it works great, where you can put a retrieval ball on it and do pretty much the same thing, but avoid anything flinging off the end of the rope. I got 2 tie-ins, I don't need to lanyard off. I'm in a pretty comfortable position. Headache! I'm out here on this limb. It's not quite lateral with my tie-in, but it's a pretty steep angle. So I'm gonna set a redirect off this branch so I can kind of work these few dead limbs right here. What I'm gonna do is put a clove hitch on the carabiner. That way these 2 limbs can share the load, but they're not getting compressed every time I put weight into it. So I don't really want them getting pulled together because neither are particularly large, so I don't want to pull them sideways like that. So I'll kind of tighten this up like that, and now they share it, but they're not, there's only so far I can go as far as the pull together goes before it just kind of stops and puts all the weight on this limb. they kind of support each other, but they're not fighting against each other. Now I can be a little more comfortable working these branches than if I didn't have anything. It was just at a really steep angle. Hopefully that made sense. Talking hard. I love these Yates Dyneema slings. Super light, super strong. They store really well. Twist them up. Put the carabiner through it. There. Nice and tidy. I'm doing this to belay myself back to that main stem. That way I don't have to do some funky sliding down to get over. I can just kind of put the rope over and through this carabiner. Sling's not doing anything, I just left it there. But now I can kind of just belay myself and go right back over. It's not foolproof if I let go of this. Technically I don't have control over my swing, but there's so much friction going over that and through this system that even if I let go, it's not like I'm flying back. It's pretty easy to control it. You could use a figure 8, do a similar thing, or another system, or there's a lot of different ways to do this. This is just the easy way I do it most of the time. It doesn't require a lot. Back. Kind of over those hickory limbs so they can flex out of the way a little bit. We just landed right on top of that one. Not exactly what I was going for there, but realistically, it only broke off a small branch off that little hickory. Well, I think that's it for this tree. Got a few more big ones to do today. That might make it in this video, or I might just do a whole nother separate video, but looks pretty good now. You got all those really large dead branches off of it.